Welcome to the GCN Tech Show.
Loads this week, including a new smart trainer, a Brazilian aquabike, the world's loudest horn, we think, and all your usual favourites.
This week, we're going to be discussing the biggest tech flops or fails.
Yeah, that's our main talking point.
First up, let's take a look at last week's poll. So last week we asked if everyone thought gearboxes are the future of road bikes. And I can confirm the viewers have voted with 70% of people saying, no way, too bulky and heavy.
I think they'll get lighter and less bulky, and that they are.
28% of people, including me, said yes way, makes far more sense. And 3% of viewers says, who need gears? I ride single speed. Interesting. Also, while on the subject of gearboxes, avid tech show viewer Twain from Nut and Bolt Design created this really unique and cool render, which is a combination of like a Canyon Air Road looking bike combined with some patents from Shimano of a gearbox system they have. And it's all sort of merged together and looks really cool. What do you think of this?
Yeah, it's cool. It reminds me of when you watch Crime Watch and they create like an e-fit, an artist's impression of what the criminal could look like.
Oh, okay. Well, I think it's cool. So thanks very much for that, Twain. And on to our main talking point, shall we?
Yeah, which is this week a subject we visited before, part 3 of our biggest tech flops and fails. So yeah, we've done this in previous tech shows before, and people have enjoyed it. And we've got some more of you. These are products that were, well, great ideas potentially, but for whatever reason, a commercial failure, or weren't as successful as they intended them to be, or they were just ahead of their time.
Shall I start us off with Mavic Zap? Yeah, so this was before we had Di2, and it was in fact the world's first electronic shifting, and was available and out in 1992.
Yeah, I mean, it was proper genius. So instead of a traditional parallelogram derailleur design, Zap used an angled sliding shaft that, well, moved the jockey wheels into the correct position for your desired gear. You pressed a button on your handlebars, a bit like a SRAM blip shifter, and then that sent an electrical signal to a solenoid, not a servo like we have on modern ones, and then it shifted.
Sometimes. You see, being this far ahead of its time, it wasn't always necessarily that reliable.
Yeah, you're right. So Chris Boardman had Mavic Zap on his Lotus TT bike that he used in the 1994 Tour de France prologue opening time trial.
Yeah.
And one time when I was round at his house, this is a true story.
As if you just round Chris Boardman's house.
I was. And he told me that it actually didn't work and it malfunctioned and he got stuck in one gear during that prologue, but he still won. Boss man.
Absolute boss, yeah. Next up, shall we have hydraulic rim brakes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So before disc brakes really took off, there were a few other solutions aimed at improving rim brakes. Most noticeable has to be Magura's hydraulic rim brakes. These were popular in the 90s on mountain bikes, and then they subsequently developed their road version.
Yeah, SRAM flirted with the idea as well. They created hydro rim brakes too, because I remember Mark Cavendish had some hydro rim brakes on a Specialized Venge that he was riding back in the day for a brief period. And I had a bike that had them on too. I had the Magura brakes and they were on a Cervelo P5 TT bike.
Now, in theory, you can see why they did it. The idea kind of makes sense. You've got improved braking power, improved modulation, and no cable stretch. But you've still got brakes which are rubbish in the wet and no significant improvement in tyre clearance. So disc brakes kind of took off, and it meant hydraulic rim brakes were like, I don't know, mini discs or something.
Yeah, it is a bit like the mini disc thing, or Betamax.
Oh, I don't know those.
Well, the Magura bikes I had on my Cervelo P5 TT bike back in the day, they worked. They worked well. They were good, and I could see why they'd done it because, well, TT bike rim brakes are notoriously rubbish because they often put special weird funky brakes on that are aero and hidden with a fairing, but they're always really, really bad. So they actually got powerful, good brakes on a TT bike, but they could be hidden behind a fairing and made into this really aero shape, which was a cool idea. But there were issues with it. One of the biggest ones was that being one of the first kind of hydro integrated sort of road bikes, the spacers weren't split in the headset. So anytime you wanted to adjust the height of your cockpit, it meant that you had to completely disconnect the hydro lines.
That's not fun, is it?
No, it's not fun.
That's
so
not fun.
If you went from like doing a short 10-mile time trial where you maybe want it to be lower to go into, say, doing a longer event, then, right pain.
Absolute nightmare.
While on the subject of hydraulics, I've got another one for you. In 2016, Rotor brought out its Uno group set, in which the brakes and the derailleurs both actuated hydraulically.
There were some really nice design ideas in this system, compatible with both rim brakes and disc brakes, and the shifting was said to be more consistent and required less maintenance than a cable-actuated system. And because there was no electronics, well, there was no battery to go flat.
Yeah, not like sort of Di2 or other ones.
Oh, yeah.
And according to Rotor, it was light as well. They reckoned it was 200 grams lighter than the equivalent Dura Ace of the time. I remember the cassette in particular, it looked rather cool and it was very light. It was about half the weight of a Dura Ace one.
But it's fair to say the group set never really took off, and it was always going to be hard for a brand to break in to be one of the big group set manufacturers. It's up against brands like Campagnolo, SRAM and Shimano.
The big three.
The big three, and all three of those went down the route of electronic shifting.
Next up, spring-loaded cranks. Now, I mean, as long as we've had bikes, it seems that engineers have been trying to come up with weird and wacky ways to make pedalling more efficient. Now, we previously spoke about in previous tech show Shimano BioPace being an example, but these spring-loaded cranks, I mean, Matt, they take it to another level. We actually spotted these on pardo.net.
These date back to 1989, the year before I was born, and they work by loading up the spring on the downward stroke of the pedal, so using your energy through your legs, and then as your pedal reaches the dead spot of the crank, it releases that energy stored in the spring, and the idea is to make you more efficient. Now, the problem with perpetual motion machines is that, well, they just don't really work, do they?
Yeah, you're always going to have mechanical losses of energy in the system, so it's never going to be 100% efficient. So by increasing more complexity and system, you're increasing the losses.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not really into it. 1989, do you reckon the inventor of these cranks was listening to New Kids on the Block? The Right Stuff, as he made them. That was like the big hit in 1989.
I'm not sure. I'll probably just have to take your word for it. Maybe.
The Right Stuff.
The Right Stuff. In previous Tech Flop episodes, we've mentioned Steve Bauer's 1993 Roubaix bike with suspension. And it would appear history repeats itself.
It definitely does, as 23 years later, Pinarello brought out the K8S. You may remember this, it was the bike with the little suspension shock just behind on the seat stays that was used by Team Sky for Paris-Roubaix. And, well, journalists that reviewed this bike and rode it all absolutely loved it and said it was brilliant. But I think the problem with it is that, you know, if you are in the market for a Pinarello, and you're lucky enough to be shopping for one, that's not a huge number of people because they are very expensive bikes.
Yeah.
You're unlikely to be in the market for two Pinarellos. And I think if you're going to be getting one Pinarello, you're probably going to get the lighter Pinarello that's the more all-round use bike without the suspension.
That's a fair point. So the suspension on the damper unit itself had just 9mm of travel, and since then bike manufacturers have kind of moved away from that and decided to use larger volume tyres and lower pressures to create that added compliance. Although this is a really cool bike, it would appear to be a bit of a commercial failure.
Yeah, it was never going to sell in huge numbers.
No.
And, well, we saw Gianni Moscon using the Pinarello F at this year's Roubaix. We saw his bike at the Roubaix Classic covered in mud. It was pretty cool. But, yeah, that just had big tyres on it.
Yeah. So there you have it, that's our list, and we're really keen to know which one of those you think is the biggest flop. So head over to the GCN app, vote on the poll, and we'll discuss the results next week. But if you've got any others that you think we've missed off our list, why don't you just let us know in the comment section down below.
Yeah, we can do them in a future edition. GCN Tech Flops Part 4.
Oh, thrilling. We begin Hot Tech this week with the Brazilian version of Ollie and his aquabike. Check this out.
Oh, you've clearly just shown that as an excuse so that you can show me again on the aquabike.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. It's just it's important to inform the people. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Next up, we've got the brand new Orica 07 or 07 trainer.
It features compact folding legs. It also has no need for mains power, which makes it ideal if you want to take it to a race and warm up in a car park and you can't plug it in. It has 2,500 watt max power on it as well, which is fine unless you're Hayden Norris. It's got Bluetooth ANT+ connectivity. It's also got a magnetic flywheel and you don't need to calibrate it, which is handy. And it weighs 23 kilograms and it has their own app you can use with it, but there's also compatibility with like whatever online training platform you use.
Oh, neat.
Next up, Our Record Tech, friend of the channel, Dan Bigham, who recently had a go at the Our Record and broke the British record held by Bradley Wiggins, reckons that he only requires, he's done some maths, 7 watts on top of what he did last time in order to break Campanart's record, the overall record.
Now, 7 watts in additional equipment and savings for most people, or 99% of people, wouldn't be too difficult to find. But for Dan, well, he's already using an optimised bike kit and equipment, so it's going to take some ingenuity and some clever research and science to find those extra watts that he needs, isn't it?
Yeah, he says he's got a few little ideas. For a few little gains. So stay tuned because we'll let you know as soon as we know. I saw Dan had said that he thinks Filippo Ganna would absolutely destroy him if he was to take on the hour record. And I guess it kind of means that the deadline for Dan's record attempt is, the day before Filippo Ganna does his? Yeah, that'd be good, really.
Imagine if he held the record for one day. He's fair.
Still held it.
Dan's doing a great job, isn't he? Rate that. Up next in Hot Tech is a smart idea which caught my attention, and it is an air filtration system for your bike. So this small unit clips onto your front wheel, and then as you're cycling along, small angled fins draw in air, pass it through a filter system, and then you've got filtered clean air, which may be removing pollutants and harmful stuff out of the air.
So what does it filter out then? Like nerve agents, pollen, like
I don't know.
CFCs, farts.
Hopefully all of those things. I'm not entirely sure, but from the...
It may or may not filter out all or none of those things.
It may or may not, but it's a neat invention. It clips... I think it's cool. It clips onto any front wheel, and from the article I was reading, it said that it could maybe cost in the region of about £40, which means it's not a vast sort of expense, and it means as you're cycling along, you're filtering the air, reducing pollution.
Well, the UCI will probably ban it anyway. Aero fairing.
That's a good point, actually. Final bit of hot tech this week is what's said to be the world's loudest bike horn, and it is the Hornet DB140 V2, and it has 140 decibels.
That is loud.
It is very loud, although now I've said it's the world's loudest horn, I feel like someone's going to comment down below and be like, oh, I've got a horn that's 141 decibels. But anyway, I'll overlook it.
Fair. Well, it sounds cool. I reckon we should get one of these and stick it to a bike. I want to test it out.
Well, God, I don't want to be anywhere near it and be going deaf.
Or you could just get a bell. Anyway, more hot tech next week. Time now for Screw Riding Upgrades by Upgrades, where you submit upgrades that you've made to your bike's equipment or cycling lives for the chance to win the ultimate prize, the GCN water bottle / bidon, if you're French or pretentious. What have we got, Alex?
Well, before we take a look at this week's entrance, we need to go back and cast our minds all the way back to GCN Tech Show episode 197, because a very kind person got in touch with us and said, hey, you haven't made the poll. So, well, I've made your request and I've got the results of Tech Show 197. Yes, 197. And it was Thomas 578.black up against Cacteriums with, we had the Reynolds 653 and the Bianchi build. So 66% of the votes went to Thomas 578.black.
You voted for Cacterium.
Yeah, I just quite liked the other bike.
So this guy got in touch.
Yeah.
And you voted for the other one.
Yeah, I've got on up to it. Sorry, did you vote on the poll?
I voted for Cacterium as well, just because I liked the name. It made me laugh.
Yeah, okay. Well, get in contact.
I thought both upgrades were equally good, so it had to come down to the names.
No, Oh, what a load of rubbish. Anyway, get in contact over on Facebook and we'll get the water bottle out to you. And if you're lucky, maybe 2 might get put in the parcel. And from last week's upgrades poll, though,
this was a good one.
This was a good one. We had Dion McNelly
with his pub bike
up against, as Ollie rightly corrected me last week, Chopin 300, which I
think that's Chopin
300.
Yeah.
With their gravel crusher, and I can confirm 52% of the votes went to Chopin 300 with their gravel crusher, which
it was close.
It was close.
It was very close. Well done, Chopin.
Yeah.
This week we have got Snakebowski or Bowski, depending on where he's from in the world.
The Big Lebowski.
Yep. He has bought this terrible, mistreated Peugeot frame. I do love the old Peugeots.
Not when they're mistreated.
Yeah, well, it was a present for his girlfriend. Clearly, really spending lots of money on his girlfriend.
Spending the big bucks.
Yeah.
hopefully he's got another present.
Shouldn't have to spend money. It's the thought.
Christmas is coming. It's the thought that counts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now the best detail is it's got 2-speed SRAM automatics, which is hub-based gears.
Ooh. Don't know that.
Yeah, pretty cool. And he says it's lovely to ride. Take a look at this. It's like a step-through frame as well. But that is a phenomenal paint job that he's done there.
Oh, wow.
I'm a big fan of the white going on. There's got like a nice little white bell, white turbo Sella Italia saddle on there. White bar tape, beautiful.
White rims.
It's just the paint job on it. It's just brilliant.
Is it my eyes? I can't quite tell. Has it got white outer links on the chain?
It does. It looks great.
Wow.
I think you've done your girlfriend is incredibly lucky.
God, yeah.
Hope she knows how lucky she is.
We're going to have to up our game, aren't we, next time?
Yes.
Next up, though, so they're up against Huh?
Up against himself.
It's up against himself with another Peugeot. He's put in 2 Peugeot restorations.
Go on, we should go with it.
All right, well,
go with it.
We go with it. Rules are rules. We've got to crack on. I picked up this pretty beat-up frame for €40. Put in some tender, loving care. It was sandblasted and repainted in a tan colourway with new decals and a fresh clear coat. Now, it's a 1x8 drivetrain, Mavic wheels, Vittoria Terrano dry tyres, gravel bar, Shimano shifters. Use it for some small grocery store runs. Or,
where's he getting all these Peugeots from?
Don't know.
They're very nice though.
Cunning plan, because I tell you what, whatever happens, he's going to win.
Well, he is. Snakebowski.
I really like the finished article though, although...
Which Peugeot upgrade do you think is best?
Peugeot or the Peugeot?
Girlfriend Peugeot or gravel Peugeot?
Should I call it that in the app for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I'll do that.
I'm going girlfriend Peugeot.
Yeah, I'm going girlfriend Peugeot.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. Yeah.
All right, okay, cool. More upgrades next week.
It's now time for the bike vault. It's our favourite part of the show, and because we haven't done one for a little while now, let's have a quick fire bike vault. If your bike is a super nice, we'll ring the bell. If it's not, we'll move on to the next one. And first up this week, we have the most super nice bike from last week, which is from Alain Cadorette.
Yeah,
nice.
Right, okay. I know we're doing quick fire, but I've just got to say something on this one.
Okay.
Now, this was the most super nice bike, but we've never seen this before. It's a front end shot.
Yeah.
So if we super nice this, Alex, we are setting a precedent. The floodgates will open. It will just be front end shots all over the place.
Well,
should we do it?
Yeah, all right.
I think we should, because there's a lot of bikes with very neat, nice front ends these days.
I'm a little bit concerned that you haven't looked through this week's Bike Vault submissions yet. But anyway, let's move on to them. It'll be a surprise as you get there.
Right. Brompton, next up. We've got Smotaz 2018.
Yeah.
I love Brompton's non-drive side. Nice.
Nice. Next up, we've got Perrier Humana with a Scott Speedster. Nice bike. Wrong way round.
Yeah, non-drive side.
Non-drive side. Nice.
Next up, Sidewinder X.
Yeah.
With his Lapierre Air Code DRS. Weird, wonky, jaunty angle. Nice.
It's just going to be a
non-drive side. JJ Carcel is next with his Bianchi Ultra XR4 2021.
What the hell?
Non-drive side.
Why do people keep submitting a non-drive side?
Also, why have you lent it up against a car?
It's all up in his grill. Maybe he got run into by the car.
Well, nice.
Anyway, it's a nice. I do like the bike though. Next up is Alex PG88 Pinot with
CBK. I've not seen one of those before, but it's non-drive side. Nice. Roderick Inglis 33 with his A1 RO Evo handsling.
Non-drive. What the hell?
For God.
What's going on with the world?
Nice.
Nice.
That's a really nice bike, that as well. Fabric saddle on that. Anyway,
Not super nice though. Right, I think this might be our final.
Daz Roland 14.
Final submission for this week's Bike Vault.
Pinarello.
Just give it a second. We both did a sigh and disgust at the same time.
Nice. It's non-drive
Nice.
side.
I only got to ring the bell once this week. The bell will be rusty.
It's all right. Next week, it's just going to be loads of front-on shots. Well, remember, if you are wanting to get into the Bike Vault, one of the best ways to do it is to get yourself a shadow stand. That way you can stand your bike up and with an invisible-looking stand, and it looks amazing.
When you stand it up, have it presented so the drive side is facing the camera. Get it in the big ring, get it in the small sprocket at the back, level everything up. It will be mega. We'll give it a super nice, and we might even pick it out for next week's show.
Shadow stands available in the GCN shop.
God, I love it. Right, hope you enjoy this week's GCN Tech Show, and if you want to get into the Bike Vault next week, put your bike the other way around.
Yeah. If you enjoy what we do, like, subscribe, all that jazz. We'll see you next week.
See ya.